Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents Conversations LA. I am so excited to be sitting down for the very first time in person with Troy L. Rawlings. You see him here. He's an author, comedian, a media personality himself. He and I first met each other 7 years ago.
Yes.
I had him as a guest on Conversations Live, the radio show. It's been so great to see all the great work he's been able to do, including with this book, Butt Naked Honest. We're going to talk to him. We're going to talk to him about the book, but also what it's been like for him to build his own platform about love, laughing, and also relationships as well. Troy, thank you so much for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus. I appreciate it too. This is Cyrus is slick. He's real slick. Everybody, and this is on. I know this is on the air on media recording, but it's also Facebook Live. So I don't want to act like I don't see y'all. I see you. I see you, Tina. Cyrus is slick. I'm talking to Cyrus. He mentioned about being in Los Angeles. Troy, maybe when I'm in Los Angeles, we can meet up. Cyrus has an office in Los Angeles, up the street from where I live.
That is correct. I know that. I didn't know. I didn't know that part.
It's been it's been 7 years.
7 years.
2013, right?
Yeah. And so many things have happened for you. And I have to say why I respect this guy so much. The first interview I had with you, I was not familiar with your work before 2013. But what I love that he's able to do, as you guys know, my sense of humor is not the best, but he's able to use laughter to be able to have some serious conversations.
Yeah.
So I want to start off this conversation talking about that. I mean, what has it been like for you, Troy, to be able to realize that you can use humor to be able to get us to talking about things that are important?
It starts, any comedian will tell you, usually we knew when we were younger. A lot of times it came from a place of pain. And when you realize that you can take that place of pain or it's something painful and be the one that cheers people up. Bernie Mac talked, rest in peace. Bernie Mac talked about how his mother was sad and she was crying, and Bill Cosby came on the air on TV and she was crying and laughing at the same time. He was like, "Okay, that's what I want to do, Ma. I'm gonna make people laugh, so you'll never have to cry again." You know, a lot of times we as comedians, we're the court jesters. You know, the king kills somebody, cuts their head off. Bring the fool in, fool! And you stepping over the bloody stuff. He's like, "Oh, so he must not have had a good show." And they're like, you talk about the dead guy. We make the hard stuff palatable.
Right.
If it's funny. You got some comedians recently that have said things that weren't funny, thinking that they can just say anything in comedy. But, you know, if your intent is pure to bring joy, and my mom started talking to me about sex and relationships. Parents can talk about what they know. She didn't talk a lot about love, but, I think my son might be having sex soon because I went through some stuff. Now, us having the conversation blessed me, but the conversation came from the fact that she was molested at a young age and started having sex at a young age. So she looked at me and said, "Oh, he may get into some of the same things. But she was already an open person when she talked. But that communication between us, I'm like 10, 11 years old, and we're having this communication. And all of a sudden, she said something key. She said, "You know what? You can come to me anytime, any questions about sex. You're not going to get in trouble." And I was like, "Oh, really? Anything?" She was like, "I'd rather you talk to me than to talk to the guys in the street and on a playground and get the wrong information." And it opened up our relationship and dialogue. Like we were talking about communication.
Right.
So parents, if your parents out there, you can open up your communication with your child, just letting them know this is a safe place to talk. So for me, comedy always made things palatable too.
Gotcha.
Anything, my father, rest in peace, amazing sense of humor. My mother, amazing sense of humor. They weren't funny enough to stay together, but but they both had amazing sense of humor.
Gotcha.
But it makes things palatable. And my thing, shout out to book author Yonder. He was one of my clients that I was doing publicist work for book authors. And he's like, "When are you going to write?" And his book was called What I Do Is Taboo. But I noticed early off when people would come to the book signs we had, you see two chocolate suited up men and the ladies reading the book in front of them like, "Y'all two guys, let me ask y'all a question." And because there was no judgment there, it opened up a huge dialogue. And when I saw that, that's when I took that and said, okay, there's a platform for this. Just like I was younger, older people want to talk too.
Right.
They're still kind of, so comedy makes things more palatable. Like if I say something on a comedy stage, I can get away with almost anything, pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it on a one-on-one, or if you're talking to your girlfriend, you know, it's going to be an argument. It could be a problem. It could be, you know, so I try to show, that's really what I do in the book. I take hard subjects and make them palatable in ways you can, because some women are like, well, I didn't know he was married. He was with this guy for 6 months and you didn't know he was married? Well, he didn't have a ring on. Did you go to his house? Yeah. Did he have any pictures? No. Any pictures of anyone? No. That might not have been his house. Mm-hmm. I said, what do you know? You know, are you asking the questions? But it comes down to a lot of times people aren't asking the questions. Right. And because they don't want to offend someone. But we'll sext. You know, we'll flirt on the, but won't ask somebody is, should I know about your medical history and these sexually transmitted diseases? Since we're sexting and flirting, ask. You know, what do you have? My thing is ask everything up front. Then when you leave that coffee meeting, because most time people are asking and they're already in the bedroom or something crazy. When you leave that coffee meeting, decide, was it cool enough for me to get past the fact that he murdered 2 people and was locked up for 10 years? I might be able to, you know, give yourself some opportunity.
Yeah, there you go. So, look, you said something that's interesting, though, Troy, and that is about the platform. And it's interesting you use that word because I think for our audience out there, I think everything starts somewhere. For me, it started with speaking before I went to radio, and then everything else kind of built from there. For you, it was comedy. Mm-hmm. Then, next thing you know, you have the book. Mm-hmm. And now you have your own media platform, building your own media brand.
Actually, I started in radio before I started professional comedy.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Clear Channel in Baltimore. I started with Heaven 600 in Baltimore.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity because we were doing things. We had this positive hip-hop, gospel hip-hop group called Radical Praise. And we would go and we'd speak to the young people and do our music. It was like The Roots, but just with a positive message. Mm-hmm. The band and the program director, Lee Michaels, at Heaven 600 in Baltimore, came to our church to speak, and he pulled me aside and said, hey, I had this idea. I want to do like a youth radio show at the evenings. Would you be interested? He had no clue that, and this was 7 years after I graduated high school, maybe. So he had no clue I wanted to go into broadcasting out of high school, but I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
So this gave me the opportunity. I said, yeah. And he said it would be about a year from now, and almost to the date. He was like, you ready? I said, yeah. And I just stole all of Tom Joyner's thing. 3 people, different personalities, and they trained me at Clear Channel. Now, mind you know how radio is.
Yeah.
There are people who work there who putting in air checks.
Yeah.
We come in off the street and they say, go.
Yeah.
And we end up having a hit show. We had a hit show, and it just started everything. It let me know that, you know, it does what it did for you. When you realize that, you know, I like doing this, but then you realize you have a voice, and then you realize you have a voice that people are like, we believe in what you're doing. It changes everything.
It does. It does. So then what was it like coming back to that then?
Radio was always there. Some way, shape, or form. When I was a kid in elementary school, I was recording my voice, acting like I was interviewing people and changed my voice up. So the comedy was always there. I was always doing comedy hosting. What happened is I started a comedy night. I was hosting, and I would do comedy in the midst of that.
Okay.
But then I entered this competition. There was a band called Kindred, the Family Soul, a group.
Yeah.
Well, Kindred's band Mainstream in Baltimore. They were from Baltimore, and they were doing this live music night, and they were auditioning for hosts. And I came up and I auditioned, and it was like, I was the first one to audition. They stopped it after that. They said, we want you to host. And the owners of the venue said, man, you're really funny. So you should have your own comedy. I said, yeah, eventually. He's like, what night you want? I was like, oh. So it moved fast when I stepped into Tina Brown from Baltimore. See, I'm sorry for the people that's listening on radio. They were like, why is he yelling like that? Tina Brown, what's up, homegirl? She said she's from Baltimore. So it moved fast once I stepped into all of the giftings that were there. So, and the radio piece and this, but doing the radio show and producing and editing and engineering and being a personality gave me the confidence to start my entertainment company.
Okay.
Once I started my entertainment company, started producing live shows, professional live shows, not just, you know, community stuff. That opened the door for me to do comedy on a next level. And it was the comedians that said, "Man, you're really good." And each affirmation helped me go higher.
Gotcha. Now, but I was asking you, Troy, because the newest incarnation of what you do with broadcasting is different, it seems. I've watched some of the interviews that you've been doing. We're going to let our listeners and viewers know how they can do it. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, you're listening and watching Cyrus Webb Presents Conversations LA here in Los Angeles. I'm here today with Troy L. Rawlings. You guys can see him and hear him here. We're talking to him about the journey he's been on, how he's been able to use the platform of comedy to be able to open a lot of doors for himself, but also to get people laughing and talking. He also has this book, Butt Naked Honest. You guys can see it there. We're going to let you guys know how you can get your own copy of the book, especially for our listening audience. So let's talk about what you're doing now, because you're using new media like we do, Troy. I mean, talk to us about, because now you're able to bring in guests to be able to have that platform to talk to them about their work. What led you to that incarnation of your work?
I always loved interviewing people. Always, like I said, when I was a kid, I would change my voice up and act like I was interviewing people on the tape recorder. And I remember turning it in elementary school. She was like, "Where did you come up with it?" But I was a talk show host. I always wanted to be a talk show host. So Meet the really came up from the promotional side. I've had my marketing promotion company since '98. So I help people with their branding, marketing, promotion, but I help them get in front of people. I help them get over the fear of being in front of people. So that's something I do on a regular basis of training from improv and all that. But it started as me doing the one-on-one interviews with different people who I was interested in. Then PR companies started getting in touch with me. Then I started reaching out to some of my celebrity friends. And special shout out to TMZ, because since I was doing they would hit me up every 3 weeks to do a little something on TMZ Live to talk about something. Oh, he's a comedian. They probably were like, okay, he's quick, he's a comedian. But they were using the whole Skype platform. So started using that to do my interviews and noticed that it gave me the split screen option and doing certain things and getting people most people don't have an opportunity to do this. You know, they don't have an opportunity to have a professional interview because maybe what they're doing or they don't think about stuff like that. So I just started giving people that opportunity. At the same time, in my mind, I was like, I want to start building some content. So when the spring comes and I'm ready to sit down with different companies, I can say, okay, this is what I have.
Right.
So Meet the actually started initially as a podcast that I was going to do. And when I started doing the interviews, I said, I kind of like this more because, you know, we've been doing podcasts and recorded shows and all podcasts are is recorded radio. So we've been doing that for a while, but the media and the new TV and the new everything is our phone.
Yeah.
So it just became an easier, swifter way to get our messages out there and get other people more exposure.